Greetings and welcome to Microsoft Excel 2013, the math behind the scenes, functions. In this lecture, we'll discuss how powerful Excel can be when doing math by using some of its built-in functions. I'll explain how the function relates to the actual math that's going on. Excel is an extremely powerful tool to be able to do some math calculations on our behalf. But there's a good way and there's bad ways of telling Excel to do this math. And I'm going to try and cover everything that I see as an instructor very common that students do. And some of them you really want to avoid and some of them you want to do the best practice. So let's start with addition. And I have some numbers up here, 5, 4, 14, 7, and 12. And the first option I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Excel to add up those numbers. And I'm going to do what's called, in my opinion, hard coding. So to make Excel do math, we say equal sign. And now I'm just going to say 5 plus 4 plus 14 plus 7 plus 12. Now, before I tell Excel to do the math, I better know what the expected answer is going to be. So 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 14 is 23, plus 7 is 30, and plus 12 is 42. So Excel better get 42 or I've done something wrong. So let's say 5 plus 4 plus 14 plus 7 plus 12. Oh good, Excel did it right, it got a 42. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing, and that's an okay technique, but I'll explain why I say incorrect use in just a second. Let's now use the power of Excel and use cell addressing for it to calculate. All right, so I'm going to just, again, tell Excel start calculating something, and now I'm going to kind of cheat and just click on each cell and afterwards put a plus symbol, so C6 plus C7 plus C8 plus C9 plus C10. All right, so it's referencing this cell, which is perfect, and then I'm going to hit enter. Oh good, 42 again. All right. The next way I could calculate these values is using the same type of cell addressing, but using the sum function. Okay, so Excel, instead of putting these plus symbols in there, I'm going to tell Excel use this function called sum. And it's going to be equal sum, open parenthesis, and then it's going to start asking for numbers. So it's the first number, comma, the second number, comma, the third number, comma, the fourth number, comma, the fifth number. And I am referencing the cells, so I'll explain why I'm doing that in just a second, but it will be sum, E6, E7, E8, E9, E10. And I'm going to hit enter, and it better be a 42, right? Oh good, it's a 42. So Excel is doing the math correctly, but let me stop here and explain exactly what this function sum, S-U-M, does. Sum is a very tiny little itty-bitty program that works in the background. We don't see what's happening, but we have to tell Excel to give it some arguments. So in the cell where I have equals sum and then I list all of these cells, all this number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, all of those are the arguments. In the background, there is a program running, and it feeds each of these numbers, and it does the addition, the plus symbol behind the scenes. Excuse me. I don't have to give it the plus symbol. I kind of did by saying sum. That's the program I'm calling up. I'm calling up the sum. And what it does is instead of me, and I'm just going to do a show me all the cells type of thing. Oops. I'm going to show all of the formulas here so far. Instead of me putting in the plus symbols like I did in cell C11, I'm telling Excel, do that math, and it's going to be addition by calling the sum function. And how I do that is I separate the cells by commas. So you can see the difference. The first one, in the cell address, I used the addition symbol. That's telling Excel, do addition. Sum uses a program to say, do addition. And we call it differently. We have commas in between and not the plus symbol. So let me turn off my functions. And now I'm going to start working with best practices. And I'll explain why this is a best practice versus the other one. Best practice, I'm going to use the sum function, equal sum. And in this case, I'm going to select a range of data. Okay, I just highlighted what I wanted it to sum up, to add up. And it's taking the range from G6 all the way down to G10. Okay. Now, I'm going to turn on my functions again so you can see the differences here. I'm going to move it over just a wee bit. The difference is I'm calling each cell by name individually in column E versus in column G, I'm doing a range of data. Now, personally, this is, to me, the best practice. And here's why. I'm going to turn off my functions. In the event I have to add data later on, and let's say I end up adding a row, inserting a row, and I decide to add 2. Now, here's the thing. Did you notice I added a 2 in the first column, but my answer is still 42? Well, that's because I hard-coded this cell, and now I have to add 2 down here. It didn't automatically update. Okay. Likewise, in the second column of addition, it didn't automatically update either. That's because I specifically, if I select this cell and show all of the highlighted cells that it's adding up, you'll notice it's skipping 2. Okay. Now, if I put a 2 in the sum function, again, it did not update. Why? Because again, it's skipping that cell. I'm going to have to add it in later on. I'm going to have to remember to add it in later on, to add it into the function later on. Now here's the power of this range. When I add the 2, notice what happens to the 42. It gets automatically updated. Why is that? Because I selected a range, it doesn't matter how many cells I add in between the top and the bottom one, it's going to include it. Now the last thing I want to show you with addition is we do have an option for Excel, and I'm just going to put a 2 in here to fill in the blanks. We do have an option for Excel to do everything for us in the best efficient way possible, which is AutoSum. AutoSum is this sigma sign right up here. By default, it's set to sum. So we can just click on it. First, you need to be in the cell where you want to have your result. Click on the sigma, and it's going to assume what you want to add up. And you'll see Excel is very clever. It uses the range, not each cell. It uses the range. That's efficient. That's the most efficient, accurate way of calculating a column of numbers. In the event that you add something later, or that you insert something later, I should say, you'll want that formula to update. So either using the AutoSum or the sum feature with the range, let me turn all of my functions on, will be your best solution to an addition problem. Now I want to show you why it's horrible to use hard coding. One, anytime that I insert some more data, I'm going to have to remember, oh, I have to update my formula. So please, 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 please do not hard code your formulas. Secondly, with the cell address, again, when I inserted information into my column, it didn't automatically update. Likewise, when I use the sum feature and just use the cell reference, again, it didn't automatically update. So the best practice is to use the sum function and a range. But I see students do this, and I'm going to utilize the sum function, but then I'm going to do something really weird. So down here in the incorrect use of a function, equal sum, and I'm going to go ahead and use my data that I have on my sheet, equal E6, E7, E8, E9, E10, E11. Now I will get the correct answer. But here's the problem with this. Let me go back and show you what the function is that I inserted. What's happening is when I say E6 plus E7 plus E8 plus E9 plus E10 plus E11, Excel follows the rules of operation and does everything in the parenthesis first. Well, if we do that math, it's 44. So what's really happening is equal sum 44. Well, by doing that, Excel will get the right answer. Let me turn off my functions. I'll get 44 either way. But Excel had to do a whole entire waste of calculation to sum up one number. That's wrong. It's a wrong use of a function. It's overkill. You don't need to sum one number. This is exactly what's happening with E6 plus E7 plus E8 plus E9 plus E10 plus E11. It does that addition already. The sum function is looking to do addition and it can't because it's adding one number. So avoid this. This is bad, horrible, incorrect use of a function. Okay, so now that we've worked with the addition, let's work with another function. This time let's use multiplication. Again, I'm going to use hard coding. I'm going to use cell address. I'm going to use best practices here. But this time I'm going to use multiplication. Well, multiplication is not addition. So let's see. I'm going to hard code this. And in Excel speak, multiplication is the asterisk. So I'm going to say 2 asterisk 3 asterisk 5 asterisk 4. So let's see. 2 times 3 is 60 times, 2 times 3 is 6 times 5 is 30 times 4 should be 120. Yay, 120. Okay, let's do cell address equal 2 times 3 times 5 times 4, which is, in Excel talk, equals C23 times C24 times C25 times C26. Yay, 120. All right, let's use our best practices of range, but I'm going to throw in the function that goes along with multiplication. So equal product, my cell range, end parentheses, 120. And then let me show you how to do it with AutoSum. Now by default, AutoSum is addition, but that doesn't mean I can't change the function. So I'm going to scroll down, select the arrow next to my summation marker and say more functions, and I'm just going to type in product and have Excel go find it. Here's product. I say OK, and it's going to assume whatever's on top of it to multiply. I'm saying okay. So I can use the auto sum, but I have to change the function to what function I want, which is multiplication, which is called product, and it will do it for me. Now again, here are some incorrect ways of doing this. Because it's hard-coded, if I insert any information, like, I don't know, a 6, my data will not be automatically updated. Again, using just cell reference without a range, it will not update my function. But once I have the range, it will update. Likewise with the auto sum. And again, just to show you, this is a bad way of using a function. It wastes Excel's power. So equal product, and then I'm going to say 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6. I did it out of order, but that's okay. That is the wrong way of doing it. It's already doing the math of 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6. It doesn't need the product around it, and it certainly doesn't need sum around it. These words out front, Excel wants to do something with it. And if you don't give it anything to do, you just wasted time and effort on Excel's side. Still gets the right answer, but it's the wrong, incorrect use of a function. It's overkill. So that's what I wanted to show you about the difference between hard coding something, using the cell address, the best practices, and using AutoSum. So until next time, be seeing you.